It's Maestro Mastery Day. So we do this once a month. Um, so I set these up for the Murmuration of Maestros group and others who wanted to have some, special stuff. And I make it a little bit more structured, a little bit more instructional than in the Maestros group. We're doing collaborative co-creation work. So this is much more, well, the how-tos and playing with things a little bit more. So that's what we do. So, and for those of you who haven't met him, that's Sheila's hubby Dave up in well, from my right corner anyway. So there you go. Good stuff. So today we're doing Genius Superflow, if that's okay with everybody. It's one of my favorite topics. And I would say that both Santari and I over the last 25 years, 28 years we've been together, have accessed that to a really good degree. And I can tell when I'm writing from Superflow and when I'm writing from me, and they're very different. Like I just wrote a post this morning, Madeline asked me a question, well, how do you know the future is going to be fabulous? And it was my answer. So when I answer, it's a great answer and everybody seems to like it, but it doesn't have that kind of poeticness that when I'm in Superflow, it has this kind of enchantment or poeticness or something to that's extra special sauce. I guess that's the word to it. And so probably all of you have written at least something in some point in time. So the my very first time of doing it, Centaur and I, was just after we just first met. We weren't married yet. We were living in a two-bedroom tent on a campground in the back of the Glastonbury tour with 75 pounds to our name, which is about, for the USers, that's about $100. And we rented a computer for £5. And I channeled my first book and it was channeled. So at the time I was like, okay, go. And I just typed the stuff. What amazed me was that the beginning of the book and the ending of the book went together. Like I couldn't, it was the first time I realized that something, maybe it's a part of me, but I didn't think so at the time. It didn't seem like it. It seemed like something had it ready to go through me and that it was going to work in an amazing way. Now, I won't say that book was one of my best or favorites. By the way, it was my first go, but it was the insight that there was a separate force at play, a separate genius pool or something like that. And over the 20 books that I've written in the last 28 years, I would say I don't channel anymore. I stopped doing that in about 1999 or just before that. And I stopped because I said, if it's always something else that's coming through, then it's not us. We're not evolving. We're giving it to something else. So I said, I'm going to just start doing it myself. And that's when I started to go into Superflow. Now, that's a little bit of my story, but let me also point to Prince, Michael Jackson, Chris Martin from Coldplay, Taylor Swift. They're songwriters, performers, singers. And they just had a never-ending stream of songs. And there are, other people that do that too, that aren't just musicians, but I'm using those as examples because I remember seeing a video once of Michael Jackson saying, I can't turn the music off. It almost haunts me. And I thought, whoa, that's pretty cool. I don't think he thought it, I think he thought it was good in terms of the commercial success, but I don't know if he really liked having the music pouring through him all the time. And I go, no. And I think what happens is there's this point where you have your own genius, you have your own talent, you have your own mission that you're up to, and the reason that you're doing what you do. And then at some point, you make friends with whatever you call it, the universe, source, creator, the divine, the genius fields, the quantum, call it anything you want. But at some point you make friends with it. You say yes to it. And then you open up this continuous relationship. And at some point you kind of lose yourself and become it, and it becomes you, and that flow is there all the time unless you choose to speak as yourself, which I did today in that post I wrote. If you read it, you could tell if you read that that was me talking. It was 100% me talking. But anything else I normally write, like when I get posts, I wake up in bed in the morning and I'm scanning through Facebook, and all of a sudden, ka-ching, I have the idea, and I put my fingers on the phone and out it comes. Word, I don't even change any words. I don't edit it. I don't change it. And it comes out kind of poetically in a way. You know what I mean? So have any of you had the experience of this super flow yourself? Let me just see if you have. Oh, lots. That's fantastic. Almost everybody. Yeah. That's really exciting. Wow. So maybe what we'll do as well is give you an exploration of it, but also have you talk about how do you get yours would be really cool to understand. So before we do any of that, I asked Santari to do some thinking because he's written 4 or 5 books now, Santari, I think it is.
Yes, I'm on my fifth, and I co-wrote one with you in
Yes,
addition.
that's right. Yeah. The one we co-wrote was a little bit more us writing it, I think.
Absolutely.
But the ones he's written and the ones I've written, often they come from somewhere, but they're not channeled. They're us and it, all of it coming through. So do you want to say, Centauri, for you, what Superflow looks like?
Okay, well, Soleira mentioned about being a channel back in 1996 when she wrote her first book. Um, I would say there are different relationships that you can form. One is that you are ready to receive something which is put beyond your understanding and knowledge of whatever the subject may be, but you're willing to put it down. And you don't have to be a writer. You just take the information and somehow it configures itself in your understanding of the energy, and you're putting things down in as accurate a fashion as you possibly can. Now, some people who've done Reiki will understand this concept completely. They will talk about get completely out the way, receive the energy. You are not the person who is actually directing this. What Solera is actually talking about is you're the source,
Hmm.
something completely different. You're no longer receiving something that comes from somewhere else. And perhaps you've just said, I'll be the one to bring this through. I'll be the one to talk about whatever the subject matter might be, humanitarianism, perhaps. And you will find that you'll feel the energy, but then when the work is complete, the energy is no longer with you. So there's the difference. If you're being the source of something, you're being the source of it all the time.
Hmm.
Let's just, I'll just take an example here. I've written some books about Merlin based upon my experiences with Glastonbury, where I've been living for several years on and off, and my relationship to the term magic. Magic taking different forms, of course. But the fluency which then something then comes through is not only based upon my past experiences, but it also about my emotional contract, if you like, with all these things which might come up as something that's magical, something that's mystical, something that's inexplicable, something that is unformed. But you, as the source, are able to take the energy and craft it into perhaps a story, a narrative, which moves people in turn. So that's where the difference between these relationships, I think, is very clearly delineated. There's also another relationship. You could be a collaborator with, let's say, a race of beings like the Pleiadians. You may have a contact with the Pleiadian energy, and you'll say, let's do something together. And you'll feel that there's a relationship starts to take place. Again, has anybody had that experience? Colin, would that be you, perhaps? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bunny. It's again, there are different types of relationships that we're talking about. But the prime one that I think that Soleira is really looking at is whether you are the source of something amazingly inspirational that configures to you and perhaps is why you are here in this world at this moment, at work upon something which you may have some idea about, but perhaps you don't have the biggest conceptual picture of it to see how it fits with everything else that everybody else is doing. But in the flow, it doesn't matter. Let's just say that on this call, none of us has to understand completely what Santari is talking about, but you get a vibe, you get a feeling, you get some sort of understanding, a knowing perhaps that resonates, that says, I sort of understand where he's going with this, because I myself have this sort of relationship with energy. And so therefore we are together forming something on this call, a conversation that will lead somewhere, even if none of us know exactly at any particular point in time where the conversation's going. But at the end of the call, you will feel something has gone click for you.
Mm. Thanks. Yeah,
So
and
anybody have any questions about that?
yeah, Penny.
Go for it.
Um, m Perhaps more of an observation for myself. So it used to be that I could ask a question and then I'd wake up in the middle of the night and the answer would just flow out. So this was a long way back now.
Yeah.
But now it's more I just open myself and it's there. So I feel like there's a change and a shift. I don't know if anybody else.
Who else? Who else experiences that same kind of
Mhm.
shift that's happening? Yeah, get a bunch of us, yeah.
There's no time, basically.
Well, it's present and in us and around us and in the air and we're it and it's not separate from us. That's part of what Santari is talking about. It's not like way back when I was channeling it first. There was whatever it is, where it comes from, and there's me, and I'm trying to bring it through. It's more now like I think the first thing I did was make a deal. I made a deal with the universe. I said, okay, I'll be up to this for you. Let's do that. So I signed up for something bigger, something greater. And I think that's an important piece about Superflow. I think you have to be up to something wonderful and great and big and grand and then the deal's sealed kind of thing. And the flow is opened at that point because you've said yes and made the deal. And then what happens is it stops being an it and you. It's you actually do wonder, well, maybe it's all me anyways, it could be, but it at the same point, I don't think it's in my case, I don't think it's me. I have the sense of it being some grand force of creation that's holding goodies to distribute. And, I've got my hand up to say yes. And then, yes, I am the source of that. So when it comes through, I'm making it mine. It's not like it comes through as it is and I don't have any input to it. No, it and I are in a reciprocal relationship, creating whatever that grand, beautiful thing is. Does that make sense to all of you in terms of how you got, yeah, oh, good, yeah. Yeah, yeah, Lynn.
But are you only talking about superflow in relationship to writing? Because I thought it was much more than
Oh,
that.
no, anything. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just use writing as
Writing is just a good platform for us
Yeah,
to
because
talk
for me, it
from.
doesn't seem to function so much through writing, maybe as through, what shall I say, being in sessions with people or
yes.
being in holding a talk on something that's coming from a deeper place and things like that.
Like when you're on a stage,
Yes.
in a panel or speaking, yes, because there's if it's you, this I'm speaking to everybody, not just you, but if I'm on a stage and I'm speaking, that's one thing, but there's a moment of kind of like ka-ching, and then something else moves through that transforms everything in the audience and captivates in some way.
But it's still me. It's just that I'm connected to a much deeper place from within and without, I suppose, as well. It's like it's speaking through, but it's not as, I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about, but it's like coming directly rather than not from the head then, but
Yeah.
from the
And
experience now.
yeah, I think I hear what you tell me if I missed it some way, but um, for me, mine does the within part is what I bring to that. The without part for me is what comes, but that may be completely different for others. Like we may all have a completely different way of where the superflow comes and how it operates, right? I think that's what you're saying, because a lot of yours may come from here and mine comes from this way, kind of thing. So, yeah. And yes, it applies to everything: dancing, singing, performing, writing, poetry, et cetera, et cetera. It's all of it, art, everything. It's anything that I think will touch, influence, transform, and transcend the world. And I think that when you line up with that kind of purpose or mission or whatever you want to call it, you get that extra va va voom that comes out in it in some way. So
I'd just
even
like to add something else to what you're saying there.
yeah,
I experience it as an unknown quantity that we're dealing with. It doesn't necessarily have any form or shape whatsoever. It's not bounded by anything. It's not limited by anything. It could only be limited by your thinking, perhaps, conceptually, of what it is that you're dealing with. But if you're allowing it to have no shape and being limitless, then you realize that the energy field that you're actually working as
mm,
is amazingly immense, and you can't feel the edges of it. And that's why I think when we're talking about superflow, even the words that you may use to talk to people, they may not hear the words necessarily register, but they will feel the energetic pulse of what it is that you are actually emitting. And I
yes,
think that's, what we're really, the nub of what we're really talking about.
yeah, it creates a grander field of pulsing power in some way, of transcendence in some way. Yeah, Lena, go for it.
Yeah. Can it not be something like, I mean, connecting to your higher self, what all different name there is for that? Because in my understanding, my higher self is still me. I am part of the bigger me. So if you are connected to your higher self, you get a different flow. Your higher self can guide you, direct you, give you inputs and things like that. But
Yeah.
is that similar to what you
Well,
from? Yeah,
in
I don't know.
it's a good question, and it may be true for some if their higher selves are genius at creating superflow. In my case, it's something other than me. I'm pretty sure, but I don't know that that's true for everybody. But I'm pretty sure in my case, I've stuck my hand out and shook with some grand force that's shooting goodies my way.
Mhm.
That's how it occurs. It just comes, and it comes in all forms. Like I can have ideas like crazy, I don't always act on them all, but they'll come like crazy to me. I'll wake up with new ideas and things like that. It's part of like you've opened the flow, whether that's here or as Lynn was talking about inside, you've wide opened the flow. And something else beyond myself is giving me the goods. So a silly example was I wrote a piece yesterday and I wrote a piece this morning, and so show you the difference. But if I was writing, I wrote this sentence about we're beginning to recognize what's true. So I wrote that. But then out of my fingers typed, we can hear the song of it in our bones. I did not write that. You know, but I loved it when it came to, I was like, oh, I like that. That's got a ring to it. It's got a touch to it, you know? And but if I was writing, I'd say we're beginning to recognize truth. We can sense it, we can feel it when it happens. You know whether something is true. So it's not got the same charm and enchantment to it. Do you see what I mean? So, but your higher self might be that.
Yes, I don't know. I was just wondering if it could be the same source, but it could, but it doesn't have to be, understand.
It depends. We
Okay.
might all
Yeah.
have a different, unique experience with this. There isn't one for sure way. We're just giving you ours to kind of see what happens with it. So, do you want to just play with it for a minute and see what happens? Okay, so I'm just going to walk you through a kind of a process I would use with anybody to do this. Okay, so first of all, know you are a genius in an extraordinarily unique way. And you'll see as you sit with that and you absorb it and you open up to it, something opens up inside you, right? Like, oh yeah, that. And then unleash it, let it go wild, like just energetically, just like, yes, like just let your genius soar out of you. So you can really feel the kind of inner, the openness, the flow, the joie de vivre that comes with it. And then you want to say yes to whatever it is you say yes to, whether it's the universe, to source, to greatness, to life, to creator, to, to whatever, the earth, whatever's yours. Say yes to whatever bigness, grandness is yours to say yes to. And you can feel you're now a thrumming field, right? Can you feel that? Like there's a thrumming field occurring, both inside and outside of you, an inflow through you. And then you want to join your inner mastery and genius with what you've said yes to, the place where your superflow comes from. And then pick any topic you want and just have something come through you for it, whether it's an idea or a sentence or a picture or whatever that is coming to you from your superflow. Okay. All right. So anybody want to share? Okay, what happened for you? Yeah, go for it.
I can start because mine was when we were talking about it, I got this memory of when I wrote Grandma Gertrude. It was so short time limit. And in the end, working so intensely on writing, I found it, what can I say? As you said, the inspiration just came on. And I was, of course, writing, but it took some roads, some ways that I hadn't even foreseen.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, yeah, well, that's 10 years ago. So what? Or even 11, right? So this is probably something new. And then when I was looking into it now, I got this really, it was like they were playing me a trick because I got, perfect timing, which is very, what can I say, very appropriate today. I've been out all day. That's why I had to turn my camera on because I had to eat something. I have been out since this morning. Uh, but perfect timing was Grandma Gertrude's special answer to everything. So it coming now said, okay, you don't have to question your own thing. It's okay. You were sensing something and it was appropriate, and that's okay. So it was just a sort of humor in it, I felt.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. Good. Yeah, you can see, well, you kind of light up with it. One of the things I found when I'm writing in Superflow, so I've written 20 books. Some of those books I've written when they're the how-to books, like The Alchemical Coach or about transformation or that, 'cause I've written what I know. But when I wrote like Remaking Revelations as an example, I don't know where that came from. I have no idea. And it's one of my favorite books because it's so quirky and unusual and it's future based, but it's a very cool book. And I wove some of my own history into the telling of the story that gave me great delight. So I did make it my own. But yeah, and it gives you great energy, and it happens for me quickly.
Mm.
Like you have this great energy that comes with it. It's not an effort to write or create or paint or whatever one is doing. It comes with the energy for it as well.
But it is a practice as well, because if you're not doing anything like that, well, maybe I shouldn't even suggest that because you all do. But I'm just thinking if I'm not writing for a while, it takes a little while to get into the connection. But of course, most of you are practicing every week anyway. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I would say I kind of, and I don't know about Santari, I think he's pretty that too, but we'll see. I kind of live in a permanent state of superflow now.
Mhm.
So even though I go buy groceries and I go shopping for clothes and stuff like that, um, I'm kind of in a permanent state of superflow. Like it can contact me anytime, and if it wants me to write, it urges me to write, and I just stick my hands on the computer and write quick, and then go shop. You know,
But won't you say that you more or less write something every day?
I do a post almost every day, but there are days where there's nothing, and
Mm.
there is nothing to be written, and I know it. And if I try to push the writing to force a post because I should do one,
Mm.
it is the pits. And it's not just that I don't write well. I think I write pretty good, but when I have to push it, make it happen, it's not right.
Mm.
It doesn't ha and what'll happen is I'll start to write something, then I'll correct it, then I'll write something more, then I'll correct it, and I'll have corrected it 5 times by the time I realize I am not meant to be doing this, and I delete the whole thing. I never publish that
Mm.
stuff. I wait for it to come to me.
Mm.
I wake up in the morning and it's there usually, or I see something that triggers a thought. Like this morning, Madeline's message to me was, I'm really pondering the question, how are you absolutely certain that the future is going to be fabulous? Do you have a kind of gnosis or knowing or something about that? I thought this is a really great question that is much more than a single answer. Like you gotta have some thought about that. And I wrote the answer. But her message that was inspired by her, that was inspired by, we had lunch yesterday together, that something must have awoken it in her so she could be a signal for me. So I watch for signals all the time. I'm looking, and I'm not just scanning social media. I am looking both for trends, up level trends and signals. And when I get a signal, I just go right to it, or I'll stick a note on a piece of paper if I can't do it that very minute. I don't hold anything in abeyance to do later. If I do, it tends to lose its oomph in me. And what probably happens if it's meant to happen, it'll go to somebody else to do, and they'll do it in their unique way. So yeah. So anybody else? What happened when we were doing that?
It was really, really cool. So I was, I was getting pictures and sort of some answers, some things that would facilitate, this, because I was doing health wellness, and so I was getting, all these pictures of what contributes to that.
Yeah.
And then toward the end, then all of a sudden there was like this big white horse. I don't know, it was like a Pegasus, a flying horse or whatever. And I just harnessed it. And then we just went off galloping. And I am not an equestrian. So, but that to me feels a little bit about how this whole process works, is
Yeah.
that, you're kind of, you're opening up, you're sort of making yourself available. And there is that very conscious, harnessing bit. And then you have to be willing to just go where it takes you. So
Yeah.
that was really fun.
Yeah. Because if you look at how many people are doing stuff on health and well-being, all the ideas and the approaches are kind of, used up. You see quite a bit of it. But if you go into super flow as you, as a master super being yourself, and you ask, it's like, to me, it's like, I was going to say whispers from God, but that sounds a little crazy. It's like a tennis match more for me. Like, okay, Soleira, here it comes. Wah, here comes the tennis ball, and I'm like, okay, let's go. Pshoo, and I'm shooting it back, and I'm having a great time with it. But it more convinces me that there is something more to life than what we see on Earth. It's my affirmation, if you will, that there are grand forces at work in the universe and here on Earth too. And it it opens me up in joy to a whole different reality than what I lived in originally. And so for me, that's a big deal. So yeah, I love the white horse. I remember the first time I was ever seeing, I was doing past life readings, and I said, I see a white horse, and I had no idea what that means, and neither did the person. And eventually I discovered, oh, everything you see is like a zip file of information. So I used to say, if you double click on the white horse, it will download a whole bunch of stuff for you in terms of what you want to know and what's inside that thing that's been sent to you. So, yep. So anybody else? What happened? Yeah, Sheila.
I got a picture first um, of a heart encompassed in the earth. So the earth, and then this heart, and then the heart was beating. Actually, it was sort of energizing. And I hung out with that for a while, and I just get that love is the truth. And that's what I got, the words, love is the truth. And
Okay.
yeah.
And what do you take? I get you sort of said the meaning of it, but as you were talking, I thought, is what you saw a calling to something?
Well, it's certainly a calling to keep my heart open.
But is it a
Uh,
bigger calling for you as well? It may or may not be. I'm just checking. It felt like when we see something like that, you can go, oh, wonderful. That feels really good. Yes, and I know what the interpretation of that is. But what if it's something grander calling you?
I've felt called since I was a little child to do whatever I could to have more love in the world. And
Okay.
and I still have that calling.
And I'll
Um,
bet you've been at work on that.
yes. Oh
Yeah.
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 So if you asked whatever you asked, universe, source, creator, divine, you take a pick, whatever, wherever you get your superflow from,
Mhm.
what could you do about it that you haven't yet even considered?
I don't know. What I get when I ask myself that question is it's not to do, it's to be.
Yes. Okay.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm asking it wrong.
Yeah. Well,
I get that. I'm
yeah.
looking for, there's, can I tune in with you? So I
Sure.
want you to let go of everything
Hmm.
and kind of connect to the superflow and say, what? And see what you get. And the rest of you can do this for yourself or for her, whichever works for you. Okay? And let's see what we get when we do that. Okay. What happened, Sheila?
Well, there's two things. There is a book that I kind of have in the back. It's a sort of a spiritual memoir, um, and it's been evolving more rapidly lately. I'm feeling more called to it a little bit.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Um, and then the other thing that I got is often is what I get a lot, and that is I'm a connector. So I'm going about connecting people and situations that are going to cause more good in the world.
Yeah, I get that too. Yeah. What happened for me, I'd be interested to see what other people got. So, and you don't have to do anything with this at all. Don't feel you do. But so I go into like a clear space where none of what we talked about, none of that exists. And I just go, Sheila, what? And I get these like flashes come out of nowhere. And there was this flash of a singer who was singing a beautiful song that was so richly, deeply touching. And I thought, what does that have to do with Sheila? And suddenly I thought it does have something to do with Sheila. I don't know what, or maybe it hasn't shown up yet or whatever. And then I had the idea, because you host events, don't you?
Well, I have in my life. I haven't done one lately. Well, I mean, I hold soirees or
Yeah.
get-togethers,
Yeah.
but yeah, not big. I used to do huge events, but yeah.
This was almost like it wasn't as big as a music festival, but it was kind of like something like that. The Glastonbury Festival is just about to happen down the road. And he started it in 19, I think 71, just after Woodstock happened, I think it was. Mike Levis is his name. And it is a love fest, that festival. It is extraordinary. I mean, 250,000 people cram into these 12 fields, green fields, where suddenly this restaurants spring up and stages spring up and performers and circus things. And it's like a 5-day saga that occurs that is just extraordinary. And the one thing that happens every year, because I've been following them for 5 years now and watching from afar, is the love that's in it. And not everybody who goes, a few people get frustrated by the toilets and the, camping and whatnot, but mostly they will all say they don't know what to do afterwards. They've been in utopia and they don't know how to go back to real life. And they want that in their lives somehow. And that's hosting events in some way does some music and performing and something. It does something that brings that out in us in an extraordinary way. So whether that's yours to do or not, that's what I got. So anybody else get anything as you were looking at that for her? I noticed Colin had a smile on his face as he was doing it.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing, because I mean, we were chatting yesterday, Sheila, about the your chuckle with the architects, and where I met you in just then was there, and it's almost like you were stepping forward to receive a gift, and then you received your gift, and again, still much chuckling going on, and then you went back, back to, well, Earth, or what who knows where we are when we're doing that. And I just felt that was uh, the follow up from your visit yesterday, is that you, oh, by the way, you didn't take your gift. And here it is. Here it is. And who knows what that is, but I mean, it's yours, obviously, but yeah, that's what I got. That was why I was smiling, because it was, we're still having that chuckle about it.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah,
I
Grace.
kept hearing the phrase love in action. And I got this sense that perhaps you are to start a movement, sort of like the pay it forward, or the, random acts of kindness, but something around, like some sort of a movement around love, like, have you shown your love today? So that everybody would be doing, like at least one, demonstration of love that day.
Yeah, gorgeous. Yeah. See, I think the thing is, I'll say it, when we say yes, okay, to the biggest, grandest forces of whatever, then stuff's given to us and it's put into a state of flow that comes through, that's just available at any point you need it. Ideas, writing, art, dancing, performing, creative stuff, all of it happens. Like Penny, you did that workshop this past weekend, right? And it went to a different level, didn't it?
Yes, I mean, when the Friday Zingers zinged it up, it really took the whole group to a different level. It was quite extraordinary.
Yeah, it's like something pulses in the air that's intangible. I mean, you can feel it, but I don't know if everybody else knows it's there. I think they do by their excitement, perhaps, or their attention, perhaps. But something's pulsing in the air that's this superflow again. It's energetic as well as everything else. It takes up a field and it reaches in and it touches people and it stirs something. It awakens something in them that's so beautiful. Like Lynn, when you're on the stage and you're talking, you probably talk in a very quiet, beautiful voice, right? And yet it's probably like room just rippling through the room. Yeah. Yeah, go for it.
The question, because I don't think it, for me anyways, it doesn't feel like it's something that has to go out all the time. I mean, like now that I feel it's like I'm being guided to read that or to do that, and that sort of kind of fits into what else I'm doing.
Yeah.
Or when I do processes to transform something within me, I know I'm doing that into the ether, but I don't need to perform it out there. That doesn't seem
Yeah.
to be my way about it.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It does occurs that way
In
sometimes.
ways of, good deeds or transformational. So I'm feeling like when you're saying that you're putting it out there, it makes me exhausted and I get cozy, I get locked down and I think, oh gosh, I couldn't live like that.
I completely get that. But one of the things that, like for me, I think that's the direction mine always flows. It just always goes that way. But in my life and with Santari and I living together, in my inside of my own life, it occurs like you're talking about. So it doesn't always, I don't have to always be like, but when I write a post, I mean, I'm not like doing this. I'm writing the post, but it's coming through me. I often didn't. I sort of wrote it, but it didn't write it, you know. It's like it's a kind of magic that happens where it comes through more than I would have written. You know, I wasn't a writer in my life. I mean, I was not very good at it, I have to say, in my early years. And to find myself now writing things that astounds me that happened. Like I didn't take courses, I didn't learn skill sets, none of that happened. I just said yes and it started to come. And there it was. And writing just happens to be my orientation to it. But I do find once it's put out, it has impact and influence and effect, but in a grand scale. So I could write a book, and if only 50 people read that book, it would still change the world because of the nature of the writing. That's when I'm in superflow, I would say. Like Santari, his first book that he wrote was called
Imagica.
Imagica. And he wrote that in the early 2000s, I think it was, hon. Yeah.
2005 to 2007.
And before he wrote that book, I would not say I was experiencing magic. And after he wrote that book, he brought magic in. And I experienced magic, and everybody else seemed to experience magic. Now, can I say for sure that Santari brought magic into the world? No. Well, can you say that? I believe that's true.
I would like to show you by an example how that works.
Okay.
Let's take Sheila as the focus for a moment. Now, Sheila, you said something about seeing, visualizing a beating heart in the earth. Is that right?
Yes,
Did you have an emotional connection to that?
very much so. My own heart beats
Right.
opens
Okay. Were you being Sheila?
a little bit. There's a little bit of me.
So what were you being?
Well, for me, the words show up as divine self.
Okay.
And how powerful is that?
Very powerful.
So would you now say that everybody in the world would have received what it was that you were actually envisaging?
I hope so.
Let's put it beyond a hope,
Okay.
please.
Yes, the energy was there for sure.
Right. So here's what I'm saying. You are an unimaginable power and force capable of creating who knows what. You have a vision. You have a sense of there being a beating heart in the earth. The moment that you see that, bam, everybody is a beating heart, connected somehow to the power that you experience in that briefest of moments. And by that, you know that everybody is affected. And you don't know how they're going to be affected, but you know that something has been unleashed. Now that's what we're talking about, the miraculous and the magical. You feel something, and in that briefest of moments, something is actualized. And this isn't about a conceptual thinking. Oh, I saw this picture and beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I'll rest in the energy. This was a poem. And it's not just a point of view either. This is something about creation, how creation really does exemplify itself in this world reality that we're experiencing at the moment. And we're talking about going to a place in ourselves where something just goes. And it's not about, I know how to do this. It's about the opportunity is made present, and therefore everything is made manifest. And then you don't even have to claim it. You just know that something amazing just happened. And because you give space to it. And there's something like that can happen at any time during any of our days. We feel stirred by something, and it's just like something almost like takes us over, and we feel the power of it, and something goes, wow. It's almost like something goes into phase, and maybe tears comes to your eyes because of the emotion gets stirred in you. But whatever it is that you have for the earth, in that moment, it is given. As Colin might have said there, you were given a gift. Well, you just gave that gift to every particle of life, to the earth.
And so it is.
And so it is.
How did that feel, Sheila, to you?
Oh, I, uh, uh, words. Wonderful. I love. I'm connected. Yeah, yes.
That's amazing. Santari, that was beautifully put. And Sheila, that was beautifully done. And can I just come back to something Lynn said about it would exhaust you if you were bringing it out, right? One of the things for me that comes along with superflow is a kind of vitality that I'm astounded by. Again, it just rocks my world, like that I have so much energy and vitality pretty much all the time. And I don't think that that is personal for me. And the more I do stuff like that, the more energy I have. It's a bit of a, you know, a turnaround thing because I don't have to, it's also very effortless. Did you notice, Sheila, as Santari guided you, it was quite effortless. And yet something goes, phew, like, is that true for you?
Yeah. Oh, completely effortless. Just in the being flow. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you feel now energetically and vibrationally about it?
Mm. Awake, in love, terrific.
Yeah, that's Superflow has, I don't want to say it has its way with you because you are the source of it. You really do become the source of it. But it's like you're in this beautiful high performance dance together, is how I would see it. It's like, so that, in a dance, when two people are dancing and all of a sudden they're like one movement, it's kind of like that. It doesn't occur like it and me anymore. It occurs like a symbiotic dance of something, and then it becomes me. And when we were all tuning in earlier, I don't think I said this, but I asked the universe, what would it say superflow is? And it said, it's universe, source, God, creator, whatever. It's our way of being able to touch the world through you.
Mhm.
Otherwise it's distant or remote or invisible or, whatever. But this is the way it comes through into creation through us. And one of the things I think that's happening with us as we do this is we're learning to be creators on a whole level different than we've learned to be creators before, which is exciting as well. So, yeah, good stuff. Okay, we're almost on the hour. So anybody want to, in fact, before I say any questions, let's just line up and just supercharge your superflow, however you do that, whatever way works for you. Okay. Okay. All right. How'd that feel? Good. Yeah. And if you want to do a practice, it's kind of like, yes, like, say yes to whatever you're saying yes to. And kind of let the flow open up in you, however you do that, whatever way works for you. And even if you're coming up against like really practical things you have to do, I would just say take 3 to 5 seconds and set the super flow in place and then go do it because it'll make it so much easier to do. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, any questions or anything or anything you want to share before we go?
Just thank you. Thank you, Santari.
Yeah. Yes, when we did that, Sheila, there was great love in it, I have to say. I was like, I love the universe. I was going like that. Like, I don't usually do that. That had to come from what you were creating and probably the rest adding to as well. So that was beautiful.
That's
Okay.
right. It came from you, Sheila.
Yeah. 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 Beautiful. Okay. Anybody else? Oh, that was fabulous. Grace, have a great time tomorrow. We're with you.
Thank you.
Well, lots of love,
Bye.
everybody. Till
Bye-bye.
next time.
Bye.
Bye.